And good morning once again. Welcome back. Hour number 2 of A Penny for Your Thoughts here on News Talk 1400 DWS and 93.9 FM. That's a new deal here in the last few days. You can read about that in the News Gazette, and pretty exciting. We're really happy with that. And we're just having people just let us know if you're hearing us okay or where you're hearing it and so forth. And Doug Quick, you've been in radio a long time, a translator.
Those little translators are so handy, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And that's what it is. And you can probably explain what they are in a way, right?
Well, I mean basically they're rebroadcasting what you do on your main channel, and you're moving it to the FM band and making it a little better, especially for nighttime. I think the nighttime coverage will probably exceed your normal nighttime coverage anyway. And that's a great addition.
Mm-hmm. So, 93.9 FM. Just let us know if what you're hearing out there as you drive around or go around. I know in Muhammad at night, once you power down, it's a little harder to hear the AM signal, and so I heard the FM signal.
Yeah,
really nice.
There are times where you're driving down, the highway, and you can see, the light at the tower, but you can't pick up the radio station, especially at night. I mean, you get that bee's nest effect, other stations coming in.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's good to be back here.
Yeah, good to have you on. And how's retirement going?
So far, so good. I've been pretty busy, keeping the yard up and mowing the lawn and de-weeding things and that kind of. And it's been some fun. Spent some time with family, especially. Mm-hmm. I got two daughters and their families, and here, locally in St. Joe and Catlin, and my grandsons in St. Joe, and being able to spend time. In fact, we had dinner all last night and in St. Joe, and it was a lot of fun. And I missed out on those things in the evening. My wife would go visit them or whatever, and I'd be working, so I didn't see him as often as what I would have liked to have. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun to spend time with him.
Yeah. Well, and was there a certain point you knew this was going to be the time? And how did you arrive at the date of?
I actually arrived at it more than a year ago, and I was all set. I was pretty much mentally set to do it a year before, because that was when my contract was up at that point. And then the pandemic hit, and it's like, maybe I'll just hang in there another year. And there are times that I kick myself for doing that. And then there are other times it's like, well, I'm glad I did it. And so I had myself mentally set up over a year ago. And then this year, when that 1-year extension was nearing its end, and I let him know, even a couple of months ahead, that, I was strongly considering just letting it expire and then checking out at that point. And, it's a major step. I mean, it's really a dream job for somebody, but it got to a point where being the only weathercaster there at the TV station and basically having to cover, at least with online presence and social media presence, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And my day began at 10 o'clock in the morning when I'd start collecting data and such. And then I wouldn't get home until, 11 o'clock at night. And I did a lot of work from home. Don't get me wrong. I could, take a lunch and, shower up and get ready to go to work. But and sometimes, and we do Zoom meetings, in the afternoon, and sometimes I would do them from home, and sometimes I'd go over an hour earlier and then go over and do it and be a part of it over there. But it just got to a point where it was just wearing me down. Mm-hmm. And and it's really funny. And looking back, I was in broadcast sales for 25 years, and it just totally burned me out at that point. So here it is. I was at 25 years doing TV weather, and it was starting to wear on me the same way. So maybe that's my limit, 25 years. So whatever I'm going to do 25 years from now, I'm going to be doing something else later, if they haven't planted me by then.
Well, we hope not. Doug Quick is with us, of course, longtime weathercaster in town, just retired from WCCU, Fox Illinois 27, and the Sinclair Broadcast Group. And, of course, for many years, we all know, WICD, and did a lot of different things there, not just the weather. You did all
Yeah,
kinds of
when I got the job, Les Van hired me, and he was a superb general manager for that station at that time. And he had hired me, and they had just taken ownership of it. That was through Guy Gannett Communications, which was based out of Portland, Maine. And they had like 7 stations or something like that. And they'd already owned 20 in Springfield. There was a time where they were actually not co-owned over a period of time. Then he'd hired, well, I was working a previous job, and I had access to it was kind of a temporary thing, but and I had access to one of the sales reps at 15, Gary Hackler. And I told Gary, I said, listen, get me on over there. I'll do anything. I'll sweep the floor. I'll run a camera. I'll do anything. Just, get me on. So, he arranged, an interview with me with Les Van. And, funny story. Part of the interview process was something I wasn't aware of at the time, but he followed me out to my vehicle, and he was kind of checking out my vehicle. At that time, I had a minivan. I had 2 small daughters at that point, and he checked out the van. Well, it just so happened I had detailed it like the day before, so everything was spotless in that van, and I think that's why he hired me. Because
you had a clean car.
Yeah, because I had a clean car. And I thought, that's really pretty smart. Find out what kind of a person you are. I mean, if you go out there and your car's, hoarder's paradise, I probably wouldn't hire you. You know what I mean? So anyway, he hired me, and he offered me one of 2 different jobs. One was a sales job, and the other one was in promotions. And I said, well, I've done sales for 25 years, and I'm kind of out of it. And I said, I'd be happy to take the promotions director position. And he says, okay. And I said, my first question is, what does a promotions director do? Because I didn't have a clue. I know what they did in radio, but I did not know what they did in television. But I got into it and really enjoyed that part of it, and being in control over the image of the station and how it worked and all the things that we did. And I ran it a lot like a radio promotions. I mean, we did outside events and sponsored this and that, and we really kicked it up 10 notches. We did parades. We didn't miss anything. We did an appearance at all the county fairs, I think 9 counties over the summer. And it was a lot of fun, but I'll tell you what, it was a lot of work. And I kind of worked myself into doing weather occasionally. Whenever there was a significant weather event in the morning, I'd slip in on the morning cut-ins during the Today Show, and I'd do a short weather, along with the newscast. And I really enjoyed doing that. So from there, I ended up doing the noon show, doing weather during the noon show, and then did weekends. I did Sunday nights. Jerome Ritchie did Saturday night, and he was kind of in a similar position. Of course, he was doing radio then too, and I did Sunday nights. And from there, we did the morning show, and I applied for that morning show position and got it, and the rest, they say, is history. But I think it was a smart decision. I mean, weathercasters hang around for a long time, and I didn't want to have a contract with U-Haul. I mean, I had family here. I had roots here. I didn't really want to move outside the area code. So weathercaster seemed to be a pretty good position because those guys hang around a lot longer.
They do. And I think, someone like yourself, where you think of some of the people years ago at Channel 3 that were Dave Shaw and Judy and so forth, that were around a long time. Any more stations of this in this market size tend to be a step towards somewhere else,
right?
And what you want them to go to,
and ownership. They don't make it. They don't give them an incentive to stay. Let's put it that way. And I don't know why not. Now they're running into issues of having to fill positions, and that's a major problem right now. And we were talking about the number of people that are quitting their jobs because of COVID shot mandates. I was shocked at the
TV.
number of
TV, really?
and TV. I'm just shocked at the number of people with these gorgeous, once in a lifetime, 1 in a million positions, and they're walking away from it because of the COVID-19 mandate shots. I mean, that to me is just incredible.
Because these jobs are hard to get.
Yes.
And hard to hold on to.
Yeah, exactly. So they're going to pull a lot of people that are inexperienced from some of the smaller markets, and then the smaller markets are going to have to pull people as well, and it's going to be tough to find people. It really is.
Doug Quick is with us. If you have some comments, you've worked with Doug, you've known him over the years, you've watched him, and just want to say hi, you can certainly do that at 217-356-9397. Text line 217-351-5357, and you can email us talk@WDWS.com. We got one texter here says, "Good morning, Doug. What are your memories working with Keith Page?"
Oh, gosh.
And he says, "I think you'd make a great asset here at WDWS, and I wish you the best in your retirement." So you can...
Keith Page, he was a really magnificent guy. I enjoyed working with him. He was... We were both of the same political persuasion, so we had a lot of talks in that. And I remember he was very frustrated, I think, by some of the new technology over the years. And I remember getting calls on my day off. I was, shopping mall in Lafayette, Indiana, and I'd get a call from Keith. What? I can't get this to work. Whatever. What have you done to this thing? And so I'd talk him through it. But I'll tell you what, I was crushed when he passed away. That was in 2006, the day before Thanksgiving, and I'll never forget it because he was in the station earlier that day.
I remember that.
And then at night he goes home and he falls down some stairs, and I still get choked up thinking about it. I mean, he was an incredible guy, and loved him as a second uncle,
Yeah.
I mean, I just enjoyed working with him. And it was a rare situation where you had two weathercasters on the same newscast, but I did the noon news. I anchored, and then Keith was my weathercaster. Yeah. And so we got to, rap about the weather a lot and news in general. And sometimes some of the craziest stuff would come out of his mouth. You never knew what to expect.
Didn't he have a poem or
he had
something he would do?
Pages Poetics
Yes,
every day. Sure, you bet. But a terrific guy, and I just miss him. And he had a great family. And I really liked his kids, and there was one daughter that used to do an impression of him that would just knock me out. It was so funny. But
well, he seemed rather folksy on the
oh
air.
yeah,
Was that
very much so. And he was an entertainer one time, and he was also a close talker. If you ever watch Seinfeld, you know what a close talker is.
Yeah.
And he'd get up on my face and he goes, he says, "Your graphics good, you have a great presentation, but you're not an entertainer." And it's like, oh, okay.
I guess that's part of it.
Yeah, I mean,
in his mind it was.
I had a radio consultant said one time, no matter what you do, give your audience something to talk about every day. One thing. Whether it's funny, whether it's serious, whatever it is, give them something to talk about each and every day. And I guess Keith had already discovered that along the way. So,
well, I had his wife Mary Ellen as the English teacher at Unity Junior High School. She was my English teacher, and I just always thought that was cool. Hey, my teacher is married to Keith Page, who I watch on the weather every day.
Yeah, well,
so.
she's a great lady, really is.
All right, 10:23. Let's go to the phones here. Greg is with us for Doug Quick. How you doing, Greg?
Hi, Brian and Doug.
Hi, Greg.
Doug, I got your book I got your book a couple years ago.
Thank you.
And that book was probably over 300 pages, I think. I read that in 3 nights. I just could not put that book down.
500 and
looking now.
11 pages, actually.
511.
Well, I appreciate that.
When I got that, I thought, I'm not going to be able to read this, and I think I read it in 3 or 3.5 nights. But I was really impressed with the history of how these TV stations got going, and I live in Monticello, and I was reading the thing about Channel 3 when they built their tower.
Mm-hmm.
That was supposed to be built over at White Heath originally. Do you know
Right.
exactly where that was?
You know, I have sort of in the back of my mind put that in a low priority, but I would really like to find where that was. And it's my understanding that the foundation could possibly still be there. But this is not the time of year to go looking for it. The time of year is probably in early March, late February, when you can actually find things. And that's another thing. I'd like to go over to the Bluffs, Illinois area and find the tower for Channel 14 over there. I'd love to be able to do that sometime as well. But you know, I never had the time to do it. Maybe I'll do it now. You know.
I know there's a high spot north of White Heath, right on the curve.
Sure.
It's that township road that's just east of White Heath. There's a cell tower there, and I always thought maybe that was where it was at.
That could very well be. That could very well be. It would make sense. But the interesting thing about that is that Mr. Meyer was very shrewd in the fact that it was going to be built there, and WTBP in Decatur filed against them, and with some kind of overstepping their business boundaries or whatever type charge, and so Mr. Meyer knew that if this would go before the FCC, that it could be tied up for months and months and months, which would delay Channel 3, and there was a possibility that he could have lost that allocation for 3. So it was mandatory for him to get that station on the air as soon as possible. So what he did, he moved the tower back to where it was there in the Seymour area, where it is now. But he reapplied to the FCC, adding another 200 feet to the tower height. So, in effect, basically, whatever 17 filed against them for was really moot at that point, because he added that extra tower height, which gave them an even better signal into Decatur. It's funny how things work out.
I had to laugh at the part where the day they started putting the tower up, they had to send Mr. Roberts over to Jay's Ranch Motel north of Urbana to round up the tower crew and get them down to Seymour. I guess they'd been out a little late the night before, and Mr. Meyer was kind of upset that they hadn't showed up, so they sent Mr. Roberts out to round these guys up and bring them back.
Yeah, he was.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, he hired Mr. Roberts from the Illinois Water Survey.
Yep.
And he had kind of hired him as a consultant, a weather consultant for the building of the tower, because again, it was important that thing go up as soon as possible, because he didn't want to end up like, for instance, Channel 2 in Springfield and Channel 8 in Peoria, and those allocations were moved, and he could have very likely lost 3. I mean, it could have went to Terre Haute, it could have went, you know, in any different areas, especially in Indiana. It could have been to Lafayette, you know. I mean, you just don't know. And he put that thing up real fast. I mean, there were a lot of objections, and I write about it in the book, many objections that were filed by the other local TV stations, and even the FCC itself had even tossed in the idea that they would be moved from Channel 3 to a UHF station, and that would have just completely blown it. Yeah.
I was kind of amazed that that signal for Channel 3 would affect another TV station. I think was in Missouri, several hundred miles away.
Well, there's a Channel 3 that's down in Harrisburg. That came in actually a little bit later. WSIL.
I think that's right. Yeah. SIL.
And which is an ABC affiliate down there, and they're actually off frequency a little bit. One of the stations is a little lower than the top dead center of Channel 3, and the other one's a little higher. And that's the way it used to be. Of course, that was back in the analog days. It's all different. And I think Augie Meyer, if he knew that his station was on UHF right now, he'd probably roll over in his grave. I mean, he fought that for so long.
I remember when I was a kid, my grandparents lived east of Beement, and we could actually see the Channel 3 tower, but they had to put up a huge antenna to get there.
Really? Well, it probably overshot your area. That could very well
be
be.
too close.
We were probably 15 miles from it. It was probably going right on top of us.
Yeah.
Those were the good old days.
Yeah.
Oh, they certainly were. And I remember sitting over in Taylorville trying to watch Channel 3 in the summer when you get the temperature inversions. And you'd sit there and some Channel 3 from Texas would be coming in over it. And I mean, you'd get this swarmy effect and trying to watch it, and it would fade in and fade out. And it was just, it was a real mess to try to get it. And sometimes, even though we were, I don't know how many miles away from the actual transmitter point at that time, but yeah, the whole analog TV thing was really a challenge at times.
Yeah. Thank you, Greg.
I really enjoyed your book, and I wish you good luck in your retirement.
But thank you, Greg. I really appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Greg.
Right,
good to hear from you. And for people that don't know, Doug, the name of the book
is Pictures on the Prairie, the First 10 Years of Mid-Illinois Television. Yeah. And you can order it from my website. It's at dougquick.com.
So that is not in retirement. The website will be up.
No. That's, in fact, I'm going to put a little more effort into it now.
Okay, got more time. All right, in town. I know people probably asked you about the weather all the time, didn't they?
Oh, yes.
I mean, I get asked about the Illini, which is great. That's what I do.
Yeah. Well, my daughters bought me a couple of shirts, and they say across the front, "Don't ask me about the weather," and then in the back it says I'm retired. And so yeah, it's I always get hit with that. I'm not a meteorologist. I never said I was a meteorologist. But it's a matter of what you know and your experience. And the thing is that I grew up in central Illinois, so you kind of understand. And being a broadcaster, since 1974, you kind of followed the weather, and you did severe weather stuff even back then. And so you kind of understand how weather patterns are and that kind of thing. So it just worked out, and I was all self-educated. I actually went to college initially for a pre-pharmacy degree, an associate's degree, and then was going to go to pharmacy school. And I looked at it several places, Purdue. I had an invite to a frat over there, but unfortunately the tuition at Purdue was a little steep for me at that time. And I considered Drake University in Des Moines, and that was a little too far, and I don't like winter, and that wouldn't have worked. Yeah. And then I was going to go to the St. Louis College of Pharmacy, which is there on the east end of Forest Park around Barnes Hospital and such. And I had a friend of mine go there, and he got mugged. So
I changed your mind on that.
Yeah, and plus I got the radio bug, and I started working in local radio, and I thought, well, maybe I want to change this. So I ended up, much to my family's chagrin, going for broadcasting, and I ended up at Western Illinois University. And I really liked Western. I wasn't a big fan of Macomb, but I liked the school, and as they say, no roads lead to Macomb. And it was a very free-spirited college at the time. Let's just say that. It was the 70s. Yeah. And I got a lot of stories there, but I also worked weekends. I don't think I spent one weekend there, because I worked at two different radio stations for a time. I worked in Taylorville. I worked the Sunday morning shift, which we used to call the God Squad shift on Sunday morning. And I also I recorded tracks for WDWS in Springfield, and I did that on weekends as well. So I was on two radio stations 30 miles apart at the same time. So
that's pretty good for back then.
So beat that, Brian.
I haven't done that. Let's go to Donna. She may have an answer on this tower question. Hi, Donna.
Hi. A matter of fact, Doug, if you go straight on 72, it's near Decatur. And you look on the right-hand side, it's the tallest tower ever that has a blue light on it. That's WAND.
Yeah. I know WANDs and WBUIs are real close together there. They have strobe. They're in the Argenta Orienta area.
Well, from what my aunt used to work there at WAND, and theirs is out like in a cornfield but there's no other tower near there.
No, but that's
Near
that.
where WAND
That's
is.
probably not WAND's. WL is over in that area.
Okay.
That's west of Monticello, but yeah, they've got a nice tall stick there too. So.
Yeah, a matter of fact, my aunt worked there at WAND when they had the ice storm.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
That
Oh,
their
wow.
tower came down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, she said that it's the tallest tower. I don't even know how tall it is. But
Yeah.
my aunt said that it's right near Decatur.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it's past
Well, thank you,
Sure.
Donna.
that area,
Sure.
but-
Sure. Thanks a lot, Donna. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Donna.
Okay.
Appreciate that. Yeah, 1044 at DWS.
Yeah, I've got pictures of that. One of the ice storms that occurred there in Decatur when ice was falling down off the tower of WAND, and they were off the air at that time. They didn't have power, and a big ice chunk fell right through the master control that somebody would have been sitting there if they had been on the air, and went right through the roof.
Yeah.
So,
No,
yeah,
it's
I mean,
really-
ice can cause a lot of
Oh,
damage around
towers are-
broadcast
yeah.
towers. And it was Easter morning, 1978, when WAND lost their tower there at Argenta Oriena to an ice storm. And at the same time, the nearly 2,000-foot tower over at Bluffs, Illinois, which was WJJY TV, it was licensed at Jacksonville, and the station was actually off the air. They had gone dark, 1971, I believe, and that tower fell, and it was owned by Western Illinois Educational Television. It was a cooperative between like Western Illinois University and Sangamon State and Springfield and such, and they actually had the tower, or at least they had a contract for it at some point, and then they lost that in that ice storm as well. And they both had similar antennas. They were overweight. They were a special RCA type of antenna, and they were extremely heavy. And I write about that in the book as well. And it's a fascinating story. It really is. But of how and why those towers went on that Easter morning. So interesting story.
Doug Quick is with us, 1046, just retired as a weathercaster and anchor, and all these years, WCCU and, of course, WICD and all the different channels he's worked on TV. You mentioned radio. That's where you started.
Right.
You never lost that love for radio, I guess.
No,
I mean,
not at all.
That's
Not at all. I started at WTIM in Taylorville,
Yep.
and with the FM station, I talked the owner at that time, who was a former dean of boys. His name was John Oles, and he was a coach in high school. He was a high school coach and such, and he was a former dean of boys at the high school there, and he ended up being part owner of the radio station and the general manager. And I went in and I said, really, you're missing out on a core audience here in this town. And he well, tell me about it. And I said, well, the kids don't like this station. They don't listen to it. It's not a resource to them. And I said, how about doing a rock show in the evening on your beautiful music station? Yeah. Who would do that? Who would do that? This cocky little arrogant
Coming in,
kid
coming
in.
how to run your radio station.
Yeah, and you know what? He bought it. He bought it. He needed an operator there anyway, so what the heck? So anyway, that's where I started, and they put me over to the AM station. It was doing country, but I mean, we had things like, we had this little old lady that would come in and play the organ in the morning. Her name was Mary Jones, and she used to play for the local theater for silent movies. Okay. And she was an incredible lady. She'd drive up in her 56 Pontiac and come out and play the organ at the station 30 minutes every morning. And then later they moved it to her house when she couldn't get out much anymore. And they had a direct line to her house, and she did the audio every morning. Mailman would show up. The dog would bark in the background. And I mean, that was all part of her shtick, and she'd play requests, and she was an incredible lady, and people loved her. And it was sponsored by the local dairy every morning. And we had things like coverall bingo and swap shop and all of that. And it was local radio to the nth degree. And it was a lot of fun, actually. Mm-hmm. I really had a good time with it.
Yeah, and you've done some voice tracking over the years.
Different
station.
And I did, of course, in Danville, that was really the name of the game. And it was a state-of-the-art automated system that was brought in back in the late 70s. And I'd had experience with it because the FM And Taylorville was automated, and I loved trying to get the automation to do things that it wasn't supposed to do. And that was the whole goal right there, was to make it do things that it wasn't meant to do. And boy, did we do it. It was a lot of fun. And we eventually went to a full-time rock format in '77. I put that together during Christmas vacation when I was still going to Western. I spent day and night at that radio station putting that thing on the air for January 1st. And at noon, we went on the air with a rock format, and it was automated, and it worked very, very well. And then I came back and then worked sales and, continued to program that station. But it was a lot of fun.
Ring Doug Quick is our guest today, just retired, a weathercaster. And Doug is with us here, been with us the whole hour. A couple of emails and texts that came in. Doug, thank you for your real weather forecasts. Thanks again, and congratulations. Doug, we'll really miss you and your weather forecasting. You're the best in the area. You do the weather, no graphics, no silly graphics, no drama. How about that?
That's good. Thank you.
And a texter says, many years ago, we moved here. We had 2 babies and no friends or family. Your calm voice and demeanor when there were tornadoes or ice storms, etc., really helped me not to show my little ones how scared I really was. My husband worked long, strange hours. I couldn't call him for reassurance. Thanks. You will be missed. There is importance when there's a lot of chaos to not get caught up in the chaos.
I really appreciate hearing from people on social media, and I've had cards sent to me after and it's just completely blown me away. I mean, the amount of comments and such on all the different social media posts that have been about me leaving has really been quite humbling, and I really appreciate it. Yeah, it was sort of my style to do that. I've seen 66 or 67 winters. I've seen 67 or so tornado seasons. Yes, they can be devastating storms. But as far as a death count or anything, it's pretty small, for severe weather. Yeah, I can do a lot of damage and tear up your home, and certainly that's important. But there's nothing you can really do about it, other than take cover yourself and maybe do some kind of prevention as far as losing items. But I was never one to be a Chicken Little, and that just wasn't me. And a lot of things that have occurred, competitively with the television, not just here but everywhere, they've blown things up out of proportion, I think, and a lot of time, just because of a competitive situation. And I never really wanted to be a party of that, and sometimes I was forced to, but that's just the way it is. It's the way the business is. But I tried to remain calm about things, and I'm not there to give a meteorological lesson to everybody and lecture them, but just to let them know where it's at, where it's going, the basic stuff. And that's really what I tried to do, was just give them the basics. We're not talking to scientists here necessarily as far as viewers are concerned, but just to let them know the basics, and that's what I was about.
All right, a couple minutes to go here. Bill is with us. Go ahead, Bill.
Hi, Bill.
Good morning, Doug. A question about the WICD. They really haven't gone away, have they?
No, WICD is still there as a station, but it's not. But it is serving as a almost translator for Channel 20 in Springfield. And the reason why is that this particular TV market is one of the largest east of the Mississippi. And in order to cover the entire market that goes from basically 3 counties into Indiana all the way over to the Illinois River, that is a vast area. And to try to cover that with one TV signal is impossible. It just doesn't work. And so all the stations in the market use translators and such. Well, in regard to, and it was a business decision as far as the WICD thing, and it would take me an hour to explain what's right about it and what's wrong about it. But it was they moved the effort into the Fox realm, the Fox 27 station. That's where the news department all ended up. It was reduced. Again, a business situation, nothing really unusual. That's happened in newspapers. That's happened in local radio stations all over the country. So we weren't really an exception there. And then they combined the broadcast of both 20 and 15 together. The only difference is there are some commercials that run on 20 that do not run on 15, and vice versa. That's really the only difference. So they have a full-powered, almost translator in Champaign. It's unfortunate because at that time, a lot of people were employed there, and it's just the business.
Hey, Bill, I got to move, but thank you.
Yeah, thanks for calling, Bill.
Appreciate it. And C.W. Greer, who's on our staff, said, I sold radio in Danville at WIAI while Doug was on the air and sold at WDNL, D102.
Right.
Ran into each other a few times in the early 80s. So,
sure, yeah.
C.W.'s on
I remember him.
So. Hey, Doug, this has been great. Congratulations again.
Well, thank you so much. You know, when you got a day of nothing going on, we could come over and rap radio and TV and all kinds of things.
We'll do that again, maybe somewhere down the line.
And again, we want to tell people to utilize my website. It's at dougquick.com, real easy, and search me out. And that website has everything you need to know about television, past, present, and future. So be sure and check it out.
All right. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Good to have you on. Doug Quick with us here this morning.